In this episode of Love It or Hate It, I've gone back to the Game Boy to talk about a game that I have absolutely no history with growing up, Final Fantasy Legend 2. Now it is in fact Saga 2, I know, but until someone explained that to me, I just took it as a spin-off of the main series, Final Fantasy, because why wouldn't you? I played this game a few months ago for the podcast, and it was the first time playing this, and Saga games in general, and I realised pretty quickly that this is not the standard JRPG that I was used to. It's really not. Now I'm going to go through the whole game, the history, mechanics, plots, characters, etc, etc. And understand, I'm going to probably butcher some of this, and if I get anything wrong, just let me know in the comments below. But before I start, if you do like this content, please leave it a like and a comment of your history of the game, and make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified when I get more content in. Now the history. As I said, this is actually known as a Saga game, Saga 2, and it was released in December 1990, back in Japan. However, Square decided to rebrand the game under the Final Fantasy title in the English territories, capitalising on the recognised brand to grow its regional presence. Basically, because we're thick. That's the way I saw it, the West are just stupid. Sunsoft later reprinted the game in 1998, along 3 Square titles for the Game Boy. Like any JRPG, you have a party, and they're made up of 4 different classes: human, mutant, robot, and the monster class. But how you want to combine that, well, that's up to you. If you want to have 4 humans, you can do. 4 robots, yeah. 4 monsters, don't do that. Really don't do that. But it's all up to you. The human, well, that's what you are. You're the hero, they're the main character. Humans can equip most weapons and armor, and the game hints you to do strength-based weapons, and this is the way I went, because I'm just kicking myself for doing so. The best pathway should be to go down the magic route. It really is. Go down magic. This seems strange because you need to focus on building a lot of mana, the magic system, and just learn the move Flare. Remember the word Flare, because you're going to hear that a lot. Mutants is the next. The basic growth of mutants is equivalent to that of humans, but their rate of growth is a little bit slower. Fantastic. However, they have a higher level of mana and can acquire various special abilities by fighting battles. Basically, they're the magic user. Don't ask me how the special ability system works, I have no idea. Because the mutant would just learn things and then forget something. I had no idea what was going on and I couldn't be arsed learning it. I'm just lazy. But to sum up about the mutants, raise mana, get flare, use flare. Flare. The robot is the new class in this game. Robots don't become powerful as a result of fighting in battles. They can raise their HP and values of their abilities by equipping the weapons and armor in the game. In other words, the more weapons and armor acquired, the stronger they become. They can equip themselves with any available items with a decent degree of power. When robots have used up their weapons, oh yeah, the weapons use up, it's ridiculous. The player shouldn't throw them away. Now, if the robots are staying in the inn, the weapons restore themselves to a capacity of 50% of their maximum power that can be used. However, the operating level of the skill item will not decrease when they are restored at an inn. It's basically a shit thing. But it's basically recommended that the robots be acquired with many powerful weapons and armor as possible. The best way to use the robot, well, this is how I did it: equip it with 6 agility weapons and watch it run through bosses. Like 2-hit bosses. Well, for the majority of the game, it's actually hilarious. Like, the robot only started lagging off near the end of the game because it doesn't learn, you guessed it, flare. But yeah, really, it was hilarious. He'd literally go to a boss and go, and dead, and dead. I was pissing myself laughing when this was all happening. And finally, we have the monster class. Oh boy, where do I begin with this? Monsters are literally the phrase, you are what you eat. Well, kind of, because this is kind of misleading, just bear with me. Now, you can pick one of the 2 little monsters, but you just pick the dragon. Don't argue, just do it. After the battle, there's a chance an enemy may drop a piece of meat, well, itself, and you can feed this to your monster. Upon eating the meat, your monster will change into something new. The problem is, the system's an absolute mess, and you're no doubt going to get a weaker monster with rubbish abilities, terrible stats, and you won't be able to get it back to what you was, and you're just going to become angry at yourself, and the game, and all those around you. Well, shouldn't it be like if you eat a Pikachu, your Caterpie will become a Pikachu? No, that's not how this works. See, Pokemon has it right with evolutions that make sense. Digimons have evolutions that can go from a cute bunny to an angel to a cybernetic lizard in the space of 3 evolutions. Final Fantasy Legends 2 monster system means your appearance will change every time you eat something, and there's no explanation for how we got there. Well, again, there is, but I couldn't be arsed doing that reading. Now, for all those people arguing at me, each monster has a tier. Let's just put them in Pokemon terms. There's a Pichu, a Pikachu, a Raichu, and a Gorochu. However, these are classed as levels 1 through 4. Your Pikachu may eat a Charmander that is the same level, and it could turn into Bulbasaur because it's the same level. But eat something of a lower level, or your monster may become Mushroom because that'll make it useless. Oh yeah, they can become mushrooms. You'll need to find an online system that explains it properly, and there are calculators that tell you exactly what you need and what monster to eat. And to be honest, without it, I would have been lost. But I'm here to tell you the only path you need to do. 1. Get your dragon. Don't pick the imp or the blob. Do not do this. Feed your dragon a were-right or something like that and it'll turn into a sprite. Use the boss meat from the Watcher and your sprite will turn into a dragon. Feed the dragon Odin's meat, yeah, we'll get onto that, and it'll turn into a Sliker. And then finally give the boss meat from Tai Lung to turn it into Titania, the level 11 monster and the best in the game. And it comes with flair, and we all know that's all you need in this game. What I will praise about Final Fantasy Legends 2 is the world. Most games centre on one world where the player goes from A to B to C, etc. Or in Phantasy Star's case, other planets. Here, there are multiple worlds, but they're connected by weird vines and teleporters. That's like Men in Black mindfuck stuff over there. I just really like the idea of how it's all connected, and it was an interesting take and something I'd never seen before. Each world is ruled by a god, and we'll get into that. And also, some of these names, these places, have great absolute titles, such as the Nasty Dungeon. To be fair, it's a nasty dungeon, it's not lying, with some of the hardest enemies in the game, but you also get some of the best gear in the game. So back to the gods. Yes, each world has you solve a little story in the hunt for Magi. So these Magi are like stones, and that's kind of what this whole thing's around. Each of the stories feel episodic and mostly contained to that world, with a hint to the bigger story, like an episode of Pokemon. Oh god, I've referenced it again. Now the gameplay. Battles take place similar to that of Dragon Quest, where you can see the enemy but not your characters. However, unlike Dragon Quest, you'll be fighting 3 enemies on the screen, but in reality there could be like 6 of each, at once. To be fair, this is a real battle, that would actually be really cool to see. Sadly, like Dragon Quest, combat follows the same rules where if you kill the last enemy in a group and your teammates still have turns left, they're not going to switch to the next available enemy, and you'll just do nothing. If you want me to explain this, I'm going to use a video I previously used for the Dragon Quest 2 video. You should still go watch that. See, in modern JRPGs, if everyone targets an enemy, they'll go that way. If an enemy dies before everyone has attacked, they'll go over to the next. Dragon Quest 2 didn't or couldn't do this, so they would attack empty air. Do you know who else did this? Golden Sun. Golden goddamn Sun on the Game Boy Advance. How did you stop doing that? Oh my god, it was infuriating that you didn't do it. In a way to combat this, Dragon Quest 2 introduced groups, so you could kill one enemy in a group, but the party can still target the group. Once the group was killed, however, the normal AI rules apply. It's not perfect, but at least it was an attempt to try and tackle the issue. What is far worse in this game is simply the amount of enemies you face. In Dragon Quest 2, you may get hit by a few enemies without response. In Final Fantasy Legends 2, you get hit by enemies on double digits, which can easily result in a party being wiped out. Players can attack enemies in various ways, such as one attack hitting one enemy, an attack that hits a whole group of enemies, or an attack that hits all enemies at once. The way to win this game is to focus on attacks that kill everyone at once. Basically aim for everyone, bar the robot, to have flair. Flair is broken, high damage and hits everyone at once. Flair is king, and I will fight anyone on this. Additionally, there are moments in the story where you have to get a guest character to join your team, which is quite handy. You can equip them with your stuff, but you should know once you give it to them, you can't take it back, nor take any of their gear. Oh, sharing is caring, is it? When it's only one way. Fine. So you fight monsters and defeat your enemies and the party gains experience. Wrong. As discussed, monsters get stronger from eating high-level monsters, and robots base their stats on the equipment fed to them. Only humans and mutants have the ability to gain stats through battles. Okay, so they do gain experience. No. Remember Final Fantasy 2? Yeah, well, here you gain stats at the end of battle depending on what happened. Use your sword skill goes up. Get beat up a lot, your health and defense may go up. Use magic over time, your magic might go up. Oh, so it's the same as that then? Well, kind of. In fact, your human and mutant stat growth is only based on what their last action was. However, whether they gain growth in that stat is random. What? Yes, it's the Final Fantasy 2 system, but random. Oh, just kill me now. I hate this system and no man, woman or child can convince me otherwise. Now the last thing to discuss before we get to the plot are Magi. Magi are the main collectible for this game, which you and everyone else seems to want. These Magi grant the owner a boost to all their stats when equipped. There are several forms of Magi such as defense, strength, mana, fire, thunder, poison, etc. As you get more Magi, you get more advanced versions such as defense 2, strength 2, mana 2, etc. You can feel free to equip the mana to whomever you wish, and this can be done to adapt any situation. Now the story, oh my lordy the story. We're going through this just because it's something else. So your dad leaves to tell you he's on a quest to search for Magi. Let's just say the crystals, for us Westerners. He leaves out the window, because reasons. Don't worry, this is not the last time we're going to hear of your dad. You grow up and you decide to go on an adventure to find your dad and more Magi because why the hell not? You go to school and pick a few of your classmates to go on a quest with you. To be fair, we all wish we could do that in school. I would love to pick my schoolmates and go on a massive adventure. Although an adventure back in my day would be getting to the local girls' school. Don't judge me. So we go on our quest to find our father and find some Magi, and as I said earlier, each world is like its own unique little story. So let's go through some of the best ones. At one point, one of your guest party members gets sick, so you obtain a potion so you can go inside her. Shrink and go inside her. Upon fighting the enemies that are inside her, including terrorists, you then take out the Magi to add to your collection, and in turn take away her powers. She's probably thinking, thanks for making me healthy, any chance you could have left my powers though? No? Oh, okay, cheers. You later find your dad, who is actually the leader of the Guardians, a group dedicated to stopping someone collecting all the Magi. So what are you and the main characters doing? Sadly, your dad later dies. Boo. In the Venus world, you find a city ruled by the god Venus, who wants only pretty people inside. Oh, I'm pretty screwed then, as I look like Shrek. It turns out there is an arranged marriage between Flora and Niels. Or Niles, I don't know how you pronounce it. We'll go with Niels. Flora wants to marry Leon, but he was kicked out because he has a limp. That's harsh! Whilst looking for Magi, Leon steals your Magi to attack Venus. The stupid thing is though, he manages to outrun the party after robbing them, even though he has a limp. How does that make sense? Well, Leon turns up at the wedding to fight Venus but gets wrecked because of his limp, obviously. Flora then slashes her face so she can be kicked out of the city. That's pretty dark. Venus, not happy with it all, goes kick off, so we decide to kick her ass, which I do. In 2 hits. Good robot. In one world, you go to Edo World. Edo World. That looks so much like a Japan. Just call it Japan then. To be fair, they stereotype themselves so badly here. Oh, it's okay if they do it. But apparently, there's an epidemic of bananas. Bananas are illegal here. Who's their secret supplier? Donkey Kong. I'm not stupid though, I know it's meant to be heroin. And I know this is censorship, but it's still funny as it's bananas. You meet up with the local police station officer Hannah, and you eventually catch a local supplier at the Shogun laughing all about it. Upon going to court, the judge throws out the case, signalling he's corrupt. Eventually Hannah decides, screw it, let's go kill the Shogun. That escalated. You end up killing the Shogun and his father to save the banana problem, I think. Actually, I don't know. We just leave without getting an answer and leaving Edo Town with no government in place. That's a great idea. In 1, we have to go fight Odin. Yes, Odin. The one who's been reviving us all this time. Yeah, if you die, you just go see Odin and go back into the fight. How funky's that? He wants to die a warrior's death. Personally, I'd rather not. Honestly, I like that reviving perk. It's pretty handy. But we have to fight him, which sucks. Once the deed is done, we can no longer get revived anymore, so you're going to have to go back to your last save file, so make sure you save often. Eventually, we meet Apollo, who goes, haha, I want all the Magi to take over the world. Give me everything you have or I'm going to kill all these people. And part of me was like, who are they? Oh, they're the people we've met on the journey, gotcha. You know what? Kill them, don't care. But we cave in and give Apollo everything, and at this point, Dad decides it's time for him to join the party. Oh yeah, he's back. He disappears out of nowhere and survived his brush with death. Yes, Dad. Dad! Joins the party. Guess I've never had a dad in your team before, which is quite weird. We go face Apollo after he starts bragging how strong he is, but he eventually transforms. However, the power is too much for him and he starts to melt. And then he blows up. Your dad looks like he's about to croak again after jumping in the way of the blast. You try and save your dad with the Magi, so do what Apollo is doing. Did you see what happened to Apollo? Even your dad is saying this ain't a good idea. You then finally meet the god Isis. What? What?
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
Now I know what some of you are saying, you're already screaming it. Isis is actually one of the most important goddesses in ancient Egyptian religion. Can we just have some fun? Her role is huge compared to the gods. I know this, well we know this, okay, some of you may know this, but my class did a project in year 3 at school. However, I'm immature, very immature, so I'm going to go with what we all thought at first. Isis. Come, just play this game with me, it's more fun. So, what happens next? Isis joins the party. Oh no! This can't get any worse, can it? Oh no! However, what's interesting is when you go through to the final dungeon, you come across the SS. The actual SS. The Watsies. So you can finally have that death match you always wanted. Isis versus the Watsies. God, I love video games. Additionally, upon meeting Isis, the screen starts shaking throughout the rest of the game, aside from the final dungeon. This caused me to nearly vomit, so God help the people in the world having to live through this. Oh, what's that? No, they're not even bothered. They're not even bothered one bit. Earth-ending earthquake? How may I help you, sir? Well, that's dedication to the work. Like the violinist going down with the Titanic. We finally reach the bottom and we have to take out 2 arsenal units. Don't worry, we can rely on Isis. Are we hoping Isis wins here? Upon fighting the arsenal unit, the battle should go as follows. Use flare. Just use flare. Upon winning, Isis tells you, it's all good, just leave it up to good old Isis. Yeah, that's not what happened in other countries. Oh, so sorry, I'm just immature. You head back home with your dad, and after he attempts to run out of the window with you in tow for another adventure, your mum catches you and asks if she can join you. Oh, so now it's okay for mum to come on board? Not when her child was trying to go and save the world? Now going through some of the graphics. Final Fantasy Legends 2 was similar to the first game, as the team was surprised they were getting a second one. I think for the year this came out, the game looks pretty good. Sure, it's no Legend of Zelda, but everything is clear and easy to navigate. Battles are clean-ish, and I like the fact I was going to different worlds. However, I do have some issues. As I mentioned, the end of the game makes my head hurt with all the shaking, and I know there's a story point, but can we stop that? Also had to be a nitpick for the enemy designs. Yes, the enemy designs were not bad, and there's a lot of enemies in this game. The final boss Arsenal looks pretty damn cool. My problem is they reused the same sprite for the whole line of particular monster, even the bosses. Let me just use some examples. See this tiger? Yeah, the tiger. Well, it's the same sprite for Fenrir, one of the strongest bosses in the game. You want a better example? See this snake thing? This is the same sprite for the Hydra. A multi-headed Hydra and Leviathan, you know, the god of the seas. Now don't come at me with limited memory blah blah blah, although to be fair, it's better than anything from Mew from the original Pokemon Red and Green.
Kill me with fire!
The music in this game, where do I begin? The music does stand out, but it just annoys you more than anything. I think it's because you just hear these 2 tracks over and over again. This one... and this one. As I said at the beginning, this isn't a Final Fantasy game. It's a Saga game just wearing the Final Fantasy cloak because we, the Westerners, are thick. And this lie continues into Final Fantasy Legend 3 on the Game Boy. Afterwards, the series went on to drop that cloak and went with the Saga game. Mainly because they stopped releasing the games in the West until we got it on the PlayStation 1. Hang on, Unlimited Saga on PlayStation 2? I remember this. I bought this. Simply because it was a Squaresoft game and the box was cool. But I took it back the next day because I had no idea how to play this game. Did anyone else have this problem? Like I was 16 at the point, or was I just so thick about this game? But going back to Final Fantasy Legend 2, it was remade for the Nintendo DS in 2009, named Saga 2 Goddess of Destiny. I'm not doing the Japanese bit. I can't tell you if it's any good or anything about it, because it never saw the light of day in the West. However, positively, Final Fantasy Legend 2 saw a release in the collection for the Nintendo Switch in 2020. I didn't know it was there when I played it because my PS Vita got sick and it just appeared. I have no idea how it appeared there. Now to summarise, do I love or hate Final Fantasy Legend 2? The more I think about it, the more it grinds me. During my playthrough, I just wish for it to end. As I'm editing this video, I am playing Saga Frontier for the PlayStation and I'm just begging for that to end already. I think I just hate how random the game is for the insane amount of hidden mechanics that I don't even Elon Musk would be able to sort out. So for Final Fantasy Legends 2, this is getting my stamp of, I hate it. As always, when I say I hate a game, people may disagree with me, and that's fine, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, memories, and what I probably did wrong in the playthrough. And like I said at the beginning, if you do like this video, please give it a like and comment about all your history. And if you want to hear more of me, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell for more comments. Or you can go to the Retro Wars, where we have a podcast where I talk with a friend each week about all the games we used to play. Until then, I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.